exhaust comes out here, but it also comes out over here. Gotta fix that. Gotta fix that. Hello and welcome back to the Team Turner YouTube channel. Today, we're still working on the 92 Saab 900. Today, we're gonna be putting a new exhaust on this car. The old one has some leaks, and it's kind of just, it sounds terrible. It's not loud, but it just sounds terrible. It's leaking out of several different places. So we're gonna take care of that today. Alright, you're going to come under the car with me now. We're going to inspect this exhaust. Get this light here closer to us. Okay, here we go. Here's the tip. Now the first thing that I've noticed with the tip is, well, it's not centered in the bumper, which I'm pretty sure the original one had two tips. This has obviously been replaced with something aftermarket. Or maybe homemade, who knows. But that hanger doesn't quite line up right. Now this muffler is kind of rusty, but the big problem is there's a hole in it. Okay, so that's going to come off. Looking up through here, it's amazing to me how clean this car is still. I cannot tell you how amazed I am. So this pipe that goes over the exhaust, or over the rear axle, I'm going to have to inspect it when it's out, but I might be able to reuse that section. It is pretty small diameter. I think it's like 1 3/4 maybe. I don't even know if it's 2-inch. I may reuse it. We'll see. I might just remake it with something bigger because I would like to have something a little more aggressive. Even though this car is no turbo or anything, it's just an NA 2.1. It would be nice if it sounded cool. Anyway, getting to the next muffler. It's a little rusty on this side. It's not too bad. Flip you all around here. So that's a connection that's leaking condensation. So that's got a leak of some sort. Oh, and here we go. There's another hole in that muffler. That's where the exhaust is leaking out the front that I showed you in that first video. This is in front of the rear axle. And then as you can see, it's pretty much just straight all the way up to the front. I'm gonna check some diameters and see how far up that goes. It does kind of condense down to a smaller pipe about the back seat area. Right behind the front seats. So this connection here does look like it's not airtight either. And I looked at that weld. There's a test pipe up there. There's a weld that's missing. It's leaking some air too. So I'm going to cut all this out, inspect it all on the floor a little better, but I think I'm going to replace at least catback area with all new stuff. that the exhaust is off, there's no mufflers, no cats, it's just pipes right out of the motor, you know I have to start it up for a minute. Alright, that's a little loud. I think I'm going to put a muffler on it. On our YouTube channel. Today, we got Redneck Randy here. He's going to weld the exhaust on my Saab. Alright, so what happened is I had an exhaust leak, and now the entire old exhaust is on the floor. As you can see, there's holes. There's rust holes in the mufflers. There's a rust hole right there. And all sorts of really fantastic welding done by somebody in the past. That's not even welded at all. It's fantastic.
It's beautiful. It's going to last for years.
So what we're going to do, this is the front pipe where it hooks to the engine. This actually hooks to the manifold. So we're going to leave this kind of S-shaped pipe as is. We're going to cut the end of it off here. And I'm going to add one of these V-band clamps. So what these do is you weld this to the pipe. We're going to weld it here. And then it actually has kind of a sealing ring, which is a nice design. And so you set it on there and it stays together. So it keeps it tight, leak-free, keeps it from sliding around. And then you put this clamp around it, tighten it down, makes a really nice seal, and it's removable again if you need to ever service the exhaust. Which brings me to my next point. I bought this muffler, which is one I've used on several different cars. It's China's copy of a Flowmaster 10 series. It's all welded. There's no packing or anything. It's all just a welded muffler. It's going to sound pretty loud and aggressive, but hopefully it's quiet enough. If it's not, there's another spot up towards the front of the car, kind of about the driver's seat area, where I can add in another resonator or a small muffler later on, which is why we're going to use that V-band clamp to make the whole thing kind of removable. On top of that, I have a second V-band so I can undo the exhaust right before it goes over the rear axle for easy removal. I bought two of these U-bends, which if we cut them into different angled pie cuts, we can have all the angles and bends that we need to make this whole exhaust system. I also have this really nice chrome tip. It's about 16 inches long. It's going to fill out the bumper real nice, and you'll be able to see it underneath the car because this bumper doesn't have much of a skirt, so it's going to kind of be visible underneath there. So I wanted something that didn't just look like a clamped on tip. And on top of that, I got some new gaskets for up at the exhaust manifold, and I have this clamp which fits perfectly around that exhaust tip to help hang it. We're going to have to fabricate a little hanger. The only other thing I have left to show you is I bought these little flex pipes. I just got two because they were a steal. But the whole system is going to be 2 1/4 inch. This is going to go right behind the V-band coming off the front pipe, and it's going to just allow the exhaust to flex a little bit when the engine moves under acceleration and stuff. And that's going to keep everything from cracking and breaking later on. So yeah, let's get started welding. so the first piece is welded. The first side of the V-band is welded to the downpipe here, or the initial pipe. So what we've done now is we have clamped the other side of the V-band to this. That way, in case there's any warping with the heat going into this side or into this side when we weld on it, that clamp and holding them together is going to kind of minimize any fluctuation and warping that can happen, so they will seal together nicely, because if these pieces get warped separate from each other, they may never seal right. The next thing we're going to do, moving rearward, is there's no flex there, as you can see, so we're going to use one of these little flex pipes. It's not much, but it's going to be enough to make sure that the exhaust doesn't crack and break if it wiggles or moves, because the engine mounts are rubber and things move around a little bit. So we're going to put this here, we're going to weld this right to that V-band flange right there, because I want it to be as far forward as possible. So it's going to go right there. That's the next step. Alright, so that pipe, there's the exhaust manifold. That lower pipe is bolted back on. I put some fresh gaskets in there. This wire here is for the O2 sensor. Ran it back up and plugged it in where it goes. Now I'm going to get back underneath the car and work on the next section back. Okay, so I'm underneath the car now. As you can see, that first front pipe is in. The flex pipe is wrapped in tape just to keep it safe. And then I have this real nice straight path to the back. And then it does turn slightly towards the driver's side. But I also have this real nice piece of 2 1/4 inch pipe that should, if calculations are right, fit right in there. Oh yeah, it does. Look at that. Perfect. Okay. And now, so at the front end, it's in the flex pipe, and there's a spot here too where the I think the cat used to be, or the front resonator or something. There's a little bit of a spot. So if I have if I find this exhaust is a little bit too loud, which, you know, it's going to take a lot of convincing for me to realize that, but if it ends up being too loud, I can put another little resonator or glass pack or something there. Anyway, so this pipe is actually perfect. And then I've got this muffler here that's going to go up in that spot where that heat shield is. But yeah, so this pipe doesn't even need to be cut down at all. It's literally exact how it needs to be. So the next step, we've marked it, and we're going to weld it right there to the flex pipe. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to weld this pipe. This is where I drew the mark, but I think we actually have plenty enough to give it about an extra inch stick out. It's still inside of this another maybe 1/4 inch or so, which is plenty. As for the tape, as you can see here, it got a little burnt on that side, but this tape is basically going to keep any weld splatter from getting onto the mesh on that flex pipe, which if you get any hot splatter on that, it can melt that stainless steel flex pipe mesh and start unraveling it. So we're going to keep that safe with the tape. We're going to go ahead and weld. So this is the bend that's going to go between the long pipe from the front of the car back to the muffler that sits at a little bit of an angle right in front of the left rear tire.
Change that angle just a little bit.
Precise measuring. Only the precisest of the measuring. So what I did while we were underneath the car there, I didn't take any video of it, but I mocked up this angle here. So this is how I actually used this piece of old welding rod. As you can see, I put a bend in it over the path of the exhaust to the bend to where the muffler goes. So that determined how much bend we needed coming out of the muffler, or going into the muffler, I'm sorry. So now we're welding up all of that. We're going to throw it back under the car and make sure it fits. So what we're doing now is post muffler, we're putting another V-band on here. That way we can take the tail section that goes over top of the axle and remove that separately from the middle. Just makes things a little easier to get in and out and service later on if needed. Alright, so here's what we got for now. The muffler, it's angled correctly, and you can see the pipe runs all the way up to the front pipe. We got it mocked up with a jack stand here. And now we're going to work on the rear pipe. The rear pipe goes over here. I can't see it real well. It goes over this axle, around here, and out the back. So what we've done now, we've actually used threaded rod because I didn't have any regular. It'll work. I mean, it's not ideal, but it'll be fine. We made a hanger to hold this exhaust up because there's obviously a factory hanger mount there. There's one on the other side. Don't mind that. We need to bend it just a little bit farther and then cut it off because it's getting close to the suspension, but we'll dial that in here in just a minute. But for now, the exhaust is not resting on that jack stand at all. It's hanging on its own. I think we're going to start the car up and see what it sounds like. So as you can see from that startup video, it's a little loud still, a little louder than I'd hoped. I have this random generic muffler, Pipes M80. I found this muffler laying on the side of the road years ago. I'm going to put it in line and see if it makes a difference.
So we're going to have this go up. This is going to go up over the axle. We're going to leave this long until we get a measurement, an exact measurement, so we can have it dump back down over the axle and out towards the exhaust.